Hello, today I decided to do a not so short video, a program on the details of the ancient Orpheistic, Thracian, Slavonic, Bogomilistic, Catharic, whatever you want to name it. It had very different names throughout the ages culture, which was, at least according to the artifacts that we have found not so recently, not so long time ago, but rather recently. According to these artifacts, this culture originated 7, 8, maybe 10,000 years ago in the area of nowadays Varna or northern nowadays Bulgaria. Later on, this culture spread to Troy, from Troy to Rome for a certain period, but mainly it gave very, very strong roots in all Slavonic countries, but also in other countries in the world and in Europe. This same culture, as I said, some call it Orpheistic, you can call it Bogomilistic, Cathar. The Cathar teachings were based on absolutely the same culture. This culture was also the foundation of later on Catharism and other Christian, as they call them today, sects like České Bratry in the Czech Republic, or Patareni in Italy, or whatever different names they are known as in different areas of Europe. But what is important about this culture is that in different periods of the human history, it gave the spark to different enlightenment phases, if we can say so. And what is the most important in it is that the firm belief of the representatives of this culture that in reality all evolution depends on human desire to educate themselves, ourselves, to share education, and in this world that we live in, that everything can be achieved, all material or spiritual goals can be achieved through education without the need of aggressivity, without the need of unleashing, conquering wars, without the need of imposing our beliefs on other people. Of course, we know very well extremely famous names and representatives of this culture. When we start from the very beginning, the oldest names that are known to us, and I guess to almost every educated human being on earth today, are in our language Zagrey, Sabazios, or in Latin, Greek, Dyonisus, the oldest representative of the culture. In our culture, he was a king. In other cultures, he was proclaimed God. Later on, we had other very famous representatives to whom we gave titles as Orphee. In the Latin Greek cultures, Orphee is a name. In our culture, Orphee is a title. Orphee, what does it mean? It is a word that consists of two words. Or comes from oracle. Fey is the prince of the fairies. Fairies in Slavonic language is Feja, right? So the greatest teacher, or in Asia he would be a Buddha, a human being that evolved so much, that knew everything at a level that was unreachable to others. That's why he got the title Orphee, or Orpheus, as known in other cultures. What is very important is that we have at least 3-4 Orphees that got into the historic books. What else is very important about this culture is that its representatives would not be just inscribing their understanding of the world into writings. They would focus on all cultural fields. You have their symbolism and their knowledge inscribed or incorporated in architecture, in textile, in ceramics, in wall paintings, in normal paintings. And what is even more interesting about the culture is that they would create an enormous amount of alphabets, symbolic and literally writing alphabets. There is even an alphabet that is already unused today, but is very famous throughout the Slavonic world, and it is the Glagolica. In the Latin world or the Greek world, it would be known as linear A or linear B. In reality, in Glagolica and linear A, linear B, almost all the symbols are identical. It is very interesting that this alphabet was preserved and used until 100 years ago for sacred writings or for writings of prayers or mantras. It is also very interesting how it starts. It starts with Azbuki Vedic Glago, etc., which would mean me, the letters, Veda, knowledge. Glago means verb or doing something, right? What did Dyonisus became famous for, or Zagrey in our language? Spreading knowledge down to so far away lands as India. It's interesting that the Indian sacred books of knowledge are also Vedas, right? Like Vedic Glago, Azbuki Vedic Glago, right? Even in Czech and Slovakian language until today, science is Veda, right? So we will be talking about this. Then we will look at how this philosophy was used by the Roman Empire to create the modern Christianity. Of course, they changed it because this philosophy and this culture is matriarchal culture, strictly matriarchal culture. It is dualistic, the female and the male, equal, but the only deity that can inhabit both worlds, the world of the gods or the saints and the human world, is the female deity, right? In Christianity is Saint Mary, right? She was the only one physically getting pregnant from the word or the wisdom of God. But, as we said, Christianity was developed and based on the roots of this philosophy and culture. Pawns of it ended up into the Orthodox Christianity and is preserved until today. Symbols of this culture are the cross with equal sides, the cross that you have on the ambulances until today, right? First aid, etc. You have this cross incorporated in a lot of Orthodox Christian artifacts, architecture. You will see the crosses also in churches or graveyards, but you also have the symbolism of this culture. Wherever the teachers of this culture spread in the millennia, you would have these symbols also in the architecture of churches throughout Europe, even in America. Yeah, sorry to use only the word America, but I think it should be also in Latin, not only North America. So, this culture and philosophy influenced everything that was happening around us. As we know, it is the people from this culture, or today they call it, one of the names that they use for this culture is the Varna civilization. The people from the Varna civilization later on founded Troya. Later on, they abandoned Troya and they moved to found Rome. So we will be talking about the culture not only as it is written in modern scientific books, but as it is practiced until today by many, many people on the Balkans, Not the majority, but the majority has heard about it. The majority has lived part of it in their families, because this was the dominating culture and philosophy until the generation of my grandmothers. My great-grandmothers, on both sides, were active practicers, were actively practicing this culture. Everything was done in their material or spiritual life on the basis of this culture. So I have very first-hand contact with the culture, because one of my grannies was practicing throughout all her life. It's not special rituals or anything like that. It is the philosophy of and the understanding of the world. A lot of nonsenses about this culture are spread around, and I decided that we need to clarify some things. Why and how? Everything that they did was very practical and very logical. So all these fables that I'm hearing about Bogomilism and Catharism, which are in fact the children of this culture, a lot of fables, a lot of nonsense spread by scientific minds who never had direct contact with this culture, who just read some bullshits, and all the bullshits, unfortunately, all the nonsense was written by the enemies of this culture. And who were the enemies traditionally of this culture? Were representatives of patriarchate, right? They would usually try to argue. They would get all these meetings, arguments, and discussions, first in the ancient world, later on even in Christianity, and every time it ended up in the same way. Every time, these philosophical disputes were lost by the patriarchate representatives, and then the wars and later on the Crusades and the Inquisition were unleashed against the representatives of the matriarchate. Countries where until today you have a lot of this culture incorporated in the culture of the people and the culture of the country, and even in the religious life of even the official. Even today, many of these places, they hide behind the name that they are patriarchats, but they are matriarchats, very, very deeply rooted matriarchats. These are the Slavonic countries, but you also have a lot of representatives in many, many other countries around the world. We will be talking about this in the program that I'll be doing. So if you're interested, join me at my space on Hero, because this is where I'll be posting the longer programs. It is much easier for me to do it there. I don't have to be careful about every word that I'm saying. I don't know even if this one, because of the couple of words that I just said a little while ago, I don't know if this will go through the filters without problems, and I don't want to do that. Also, on the other hand, this knowledge, getting to this knowledge, takes enormous amount of time and enormous amount of effort, especially verifying all the artifacts, verifying all the symbols, and making sure that it would be really interesting for representatives of other cultures, and how to connect all the dots. All of this is a lot of work. All of this is a lot of time. So I would, I'm giving my programs not for free, but against one beer. So you could buy me a beer, come to Hero and listen to what I have to say. As I said, we'll be discussing all the elements, especially the behavior of our culture, because I'm hearing a lot of nonsense. I heard about Catharism, that this philosophy is teaching veganism and stuff like this. It's not true. These things are not true. The culture is based on balance. This is what I will say for now here. Later on in the long programs, if you want to join, if you want to hear the details, you're welcome. If it is maybe a topic interesting for you, I'll be happy. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening. And hopefully I'll be saying some things that would be interesting for you. If not, enjoy.